News Weekly.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is year 3, episode 118, and man, do we got some news to tell you. Or I just said that. We got news, but it's not like anything major. Sorry. But it is what it is. Clay is back freshly from watching Spider-Man twice yesterday.
In the same day. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, I don't know. Were you excited the second time watching it? Like, since you know what's happening? Or, like, how does that viewing experience?
So I don't have to, but I'm gonna be doing a review almost immediately after we finish recording
Yeah.
here. So
Oh, do you have a hard deadline, by the way?
no. It's my hard deadline is in 4 hours. We're not gonna have a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh well, you never know. It's us, you know.
Yeah.
So
We do have a lot of questions. I forgot about that.
fuck,
So.
I haven't even looked at the questions. Son of a bitch.
We have like 4 questions.
That's awesome though. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really cool.
For sure.
So the way I did it is my first viewing was I'm not looking at anything other than just having a good time.
Mhm.
And I know that we've had differences of opinions when it comes to like how people should view a movie or whatever. Like honestly, like I've seen reactions on YouTube already where every single person is out of their seat. Like they jump up, they scream, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like I feel like that is a little much.
Yeah.
But for me, like I can be okay with like people getting excited, especially if it's like the premiere, like a Thursday night or a Wednesday night premiere.
Stay in your fucking seat, like for real. Stay in your fucking seat. Yeah.
And like people like clapping or cheering, I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, this is kind of fun. Like, because like Wednesday and Thursday night viewings are for the crazy fans, and like we're probably gonna get more excited about anything else, you know,
for sure.
So like that's what that experience was. And then because of the horrible experience that Abby had while watching Eternals in IMAX when it was fully packed, hot, disgusting, we bought the VIP tickets at Palladium, and it literally puts us in a box. There is walls on each side of us and on our backside.
Mm-hmm.
So we are literally almost in like a cube.
Is that new? I've never really experienced that before.
I guess it's newer. They definitely renovated it, and like they have a menu so that way you can like order from inside. And like it was nice. Like and even in the VIP, because it was still a Wednesday or Thursday night.
The AC was good because wasn't that the problem?
Yeah. The AC was great. Like I asked Abby afterward, and she was like, "That was like one of my greatest movie experiences ever. That's how we're gonna watch movies from now on." I was like,
"My wallet."
Exactly. I was like, "Goodbye, wallet."
For real. Yeah,
but
that's cool.
It was fun, and like in the VIP, there wasn't as many like woohoos, but like you could still hear them, and I was like, "All right, cool." You know.
Yeah.
But in my second viewing, I was being a little bit more critical. I was like, "Okay, I know what's happening. Now let me see if there's any nitpicks or anything else."
Yeah.
So that's really what I was looking for.
Yeah, I've just like my audience constantly tells me, "So you're gonna watch it?" I'm like, "Look, the second trailer killed it for me." Everybody's like, "Dude, in context." I'm like, it doesn't matter about in context because like the trailer killed my interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm always down to be wrong. I've always said that. I'm totally cool with being proven wrong. I can definitely be the bigger man or whatever and be like, "Oh yeah, I was fucking wrong. This is a great movie." But I don't know how you feel about this, Clay, but like I've always been one of those people that like if you hype something up and you're like, it's the fucking greatest thing and like, oh my God, it's gonna blow your mind. And my mind isn't blown when I watch that fucking movie. I hate it 10 times more. That's just how I am.
I feel like I am. It's been a while since I've had that experience with a movie.
Yeah.
I think more so I've had it for comics and video games. That's really the big thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, because like people get super excited and I'm cool. That's awesome that people are still super pumped and excited about movies. But we've had this discussion before. There are some people that just love everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
I can't take you seriously on anything because you love everything. But yeah, like if you hype up something for me so crazy, and I'm already going into this with it of the attitude it has to be good because people are hyping it up, and if it's not, I'm going to be super disappointed. So I rather watch a movie when I don't care or don't have an expectation, because then I'm just like, oh, that was actually pretty dope. Like, you know what I mean? But right now I can't watch Spider-Man even if I wanted to, because I'm just like in a mindset of like, if this movie's not fucking great, but then I had stuff spoiled for me. So I'm just like, now I don't give a shit at all.
And to be
So
honest, I'm not going to be putting out any spoilers or anything in this review because this is a
mm,
Batman News Weekly, not Spider-Man News Weekly. But I will say this: I've been very critical of MCU Spider-Man, like
yeah,
ever since he arrived in MCU.
yeah,
This is the one Spider-Man film that feels like Spider-Man.
that's
So like,
cool.
that I was like, I now look at those other movies and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you had to grow into this one moment, and
Hmm.
now knowing that there's like actual plans on moving him into another trilogy or two,
Yeah.
like I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that now. So
Yeah.
let's move it forward. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw one of those one of the bigger TikTok creators say that she wasn't a fan of the movies either, but this one like blew her mind. And I was a little skeptical. I think she's a great creator, but she said she's put a lot of praise on Suicide Squad. And I was like, I mean, Suicide Squad was good, but like I
Mhm.
wasn't blown away by it. So like her reviews for me kind of, I'm just like, I'll take them with a grain of salt because, I thought Suicide Squad was going to be better than it was. Not that I hated Suicide Squad or anything, but like I wasn't blown away by Suicide Squad because that featurette showed a lot,
Yeah.
and I was just like, yeah, but yeah. So anyways, let's go back to talking about Batman because that's what this podcast is. I mean, Spider-Man's the Batman of fucking the MCU. Like he's their biggest
I
character.
mean,
You know,
basically,
he's
yeah.
got their best rogues gallery. So, we'll give him a little clout here. Second best rogues gallery in all of comics. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, so let's talk about, we have just comic news and then we got some entertainment news. Starting off with Batman had a Japan trailer. Now, I didn't see this. Did you watch this?
I watched it. Now I kind of hope that, like, I'm just gonna say this: if you guys want to watch it with your own discretion,
Mm-hmm.
um, because the last line feels like a spoiler.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say what it is. It's just
Yeah.
like somebody says something, and I'm like, I don't know if I wanted to hear that. Like,
Yeah.
I probably could have gone without
Yeah.
hearing that one phrase,
That's why
and
I don't watch trailers after the second one. So,
it was
cause,
like, don't get me wrong, there's like one scene that
yeah.
I cocked my head and I was like, oh, that's new. It looks like the Riddler has like something that says like, I'll see you in hell, or I'll meet
Yeah.
you in hell, or something like that. And it was just something that kind of popped out at me, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's new. And then like the voiceover, like it wasn't even showing anything. It was just the voiceover, and I'm just like,
Oh,
I was like, fuck, are you freaking
we
kidding me?
so I haven't heard this, but I saw an article title. So maybe this is the same thing. So apologies if this is a spoiler. Skip ahead, let's just say 3 to 4 minutes in the podcast just in case.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was the new synopsis or if it was just something I read, but they're throwing it out that Riddler might already know who Batman is. What are your
That
thoughts on that? That's it?
that is it.
Okay.
That is
So
it.
I don't think I like that at all because I just fucking hate the idea that this is gonna be the first movie and a villain already knows who Batman is. Like, and here's the thing. When you do this realistic Batman bullshit, and it's just like it's super realistic, villains would spread that shit like crazy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They'd be like, "Oh, Batman's Bruce Wayne!" And like, like how much money would you give me to let you know who the Batman is? You know what I mean? Like, realistically, that shit's gonna get out so fast in the villain, universe.
Yeah.
And so, like, you got to pick and choose with this kind of shit because, like, if you're gonna let people know who Batman is in the first movie, and granted, superhero movies always do this shit. It's like a trope to be like, secret identities aren't a fucking thing anymore. Marvel,
Yeah.
everybody, you know what I mean? So, like, it's just, when I read that, I was just like, are you fucking shitting me? Like, the last two big pieces of news we've gotten out of this movie have made me like it like a small percentage less, or be less hyped for it, is what I should say. Because the
Yeah.
Joker thing, still not on the fence with. I hear that
Did we
they've
I was
talked.
gonna say, did we talk about the two different
Yes, so we talked
showings?
about it. It was like a big thing, and that's when, remember when somebody in our comment section on YouTube was all like, "You guys are blowing it out of proportion." That's when we
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, is they have those two separate movies. So one movie has the Joker scene and one movie doesn't, apparently. And I already saw an article about that. They talked about it in a fucking article. Like, how are they letting this shit out? Like, why are they not going for the throats of these big websites that do this?
It's I don't know, man. For me, like we are in such a like spoiler free, like don't spoil this or don't spoil that.
Yeah.
Like people will fucking like threaten you, like your life
Yeah. For
if you
real.
spoil a movie these days. And I had just told you, we just said for the Eternals and No Way Home,
Mhm.
Variety has spoiled those movies immediately after red carpet, and they have
Yeah.
done nothing to Variety whatsoever. They
Yeah.
haven't even suspended that writer or that
Yeah.
journalist whatsoever. And so, like for me, it's just like I don't know, this whole thing with Riddler knowing
Mhm.
it. Apparently, you know, this is just speculation, not even a rumor. This is just
Yeah.
speculation. Apparently, it has something to do with the fact that they are probably going to push the narrative that Thomas and Martha were not the greatest Gotham citizens
Mm,
in this reiteration of the
yeah.
story. But that is what like that's the trend of 2021. Like rich
Yeah.
white people, they're not
Mhm.
good.
Yeah. Which again, we've made this argument. Yes, in reality, rich white people aren't good. Well, not all. Well, I'm not going to put that everybody in a fucking box, but for the majority, it seems that way. Old
Yeah.
money, they call it old money for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like they ruled America. They still do. But the thing is, this is a comic book. This is the one time you could make a rich white person be
You get to
good.
break the rules. That's the
Yeah,
whole
you know what I
point.
mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, because, that's the biggest trope. And, like, it's unfortunate. Like, I have some amazing white friends. And, like, at times I'm all like, man, fuck this and blah, blah, blah. But, like, I know some of them are like, dude, like, what can we do to make the world better? Like, honestly, just from your point of view. And I'm like, I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Let
Yeah.
people of color lead. Let them do kind of stuff. Like, that'd be nice. And they're like, sweet, awesome, cool. Like, don't
Yeah.
project yourself on everybody. Also, did you? This is a side note, but since it's like a not a political thing, but since it plays in our sandbox, did you see the thing about the whole like Latinx shit that happened? That like Latinx, right? You know that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
pronouns
Yeah.
and all that jazz. That all these other like Latino countries and like places apparently voted on it, and they were like, none of us fucking use that. We don't want it. Like, and everybody was like, that's a white thing. Like, white people invented that. Like, we don't do it. Because for nobody that doesn't understand or has never talked Spanish, it's a masculine and feminine pronouns.
Yeah.
Like, it's o or ala or a or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you understand Spanish, you understand it's such a part of the language. So you're
Mhm.
gonna have male and female things in it. And like Latinx is supposed to be, with the proper pronouns and all that jazz, is to make it more inclusive, which is totally nice. I understand the sentiment. But like, you can't just put that on people that don't give a shit about it. And apparently, like, it's a
True.
big American thing. Like, Americans what started it because other countries are like, the fuck is that? Like, if you go down to Mexico, they're like, no, like, we don't fucking talk about that shit. So, like, there's apparently somebody, like, I don't know who it was, but there was like an organization or something that was using Latinx, and they're gonna stop now because they're like, no, they don't want it, so we're not gonna talk anymore. I was like, a reversal on something? What? Like,
I'm kind
I
of
just
down
thought it
for
was,
it.
yeah, I have no problem with it because, like, the thing is I'm all about progress, but you can only have progress if you include people you're trying to make changes for. That's
Yeah.
my fucking thing. You didn't choose the fucking Latino culture in this situation here, in my opinion. It just
Mhm.
seems like, well, we're being all inclusive and like they have Latino and it's like that's a male thing. So like why we gotta make it all inclusive for everybody? I'm like, no, that's the fucking language. Like, oh my God. Like Jesus. You know
You
what I
can't
mean?
change the language.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh
I don't know.
shit.
But I just thought that was a funny tangent because we do read this stuff and watch this stuff in our comic books and movies nowadays, and it's just interesting. We just found out that our boy Blue Beetle is going to the big screen.
Fuck
So
yeah.
yeah, Latinos on the big screen, baby. So you know what I mean? Like that shit's kind of cool, but I just thought it was very interesting to see, like, we're seeing all this progress, but we saw something get pulled back because there was an overreach.
Yeah.
Which it's nice to know that things can be pulled back in this world because of overreaching. Because I think there are some things that are just kind of ridiculous. But anyways, let's talk about some fucking Batman shit. Back to that. This has been a random ass. This maybe will go 4 hours. Fuck it at this point. But going. I love that we're jumping off the PC shit, but now going back to the PC shit because that PC Palace, which is CW,
Oh
is
yeah.
making a new show called Gotham Knights.
Did you read this description?
No, I'm not gonna fucking watch it, so I don't give
Oh
a
no,
fuck.
no, I'm not watching
Yeah.
it either. So, upon Bruce Wayne's murder,
Ooh.
upon Batman dying,
Yeah.
his overly aggressive adopted child,
Uh-huh.
Jason. Uh,
Really?
who else is aggressive? Here, let me
Yeah. Well,
actually look.
Damien's pretty aggressive.
That is true. So let me actually see. Okay, so in the wake of Bruce Wayne's murder, his rebellious adopted son forges an unlikely alliance with the children of Batman's enemies
Yeah.
when they are all framed for killing the Cape Crusader. And as the city's most wanted criminals, this renegade band of misfits must fight to clear their name. But in Gotham, with no Dark Knight to protect it, the city descends into the most dangerous it's ever been. However, hope comes from the most unexpected of places as the team of mismatched fugitives will become its next generation of saviors. This is the most fucking Riverdale superhero
Mhm.
stupid shit I have ever heard.
Yeah. I'm definitely not gonna watch it. I never thought there would be a day where there would be so much Batman content, and I just don't care because it's bad. You know, like it's bad content. That's not gonna be better than Titans. Like, come
No,
on.
no,
So, and Titans, like, it's so weird. I don't understand how Batman people can fuck up Batman so much. Like in writing, we've made it clear that there are some people that just cannot write Batman. And
no.
apparently in Hollywood, there are some people that just do not know how to work with the Bat family. How do you fuck it up? It's
It's
people
so
that don't have
fucking.
powers. It's not hard. I don't get it.
This is why DC should not have fucking gotten rid of the Batman adventures,
Yeah.
the Bat Family adventures from Isahak or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, it's probably because it was good. That's why they got rid of it. That's probably why.
This is way better than anything that we're in
Yeah.
development right now. Shut it down.
Yeah, for real. Like, holy shit, dude. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch this.
No.
I'm pretty sure. And what? So they're gonna have a better or maybe a worse Red Hood costume?
If this, because this is just in development right now. This is
Yeah,
not like, hey, it's gonna be in 2022's fall season.
yeah.
At the earliest, I see this being 2023 fall season. So another 2 years.
No, they're gonna rush this. I guarantee it. I guarantee you we see something about it at Comic Con. That's in 7 months.
Yikes.
No, 8 months, I think. Yeah, I
Yikes.
guarantee they rush it. And the thing is like, I don't see, dude. After y'all showed me those photos in Discord of the Reverse Flash, what happened? What happened to that costume department, man?
I don't know what happened, dude. It is bad.
Like, that
So
was fucking
in the scene that we were
awful.
talking about, dude. So Eobard, Tom
Yeah,
Cavanaugh. Spoilers for this show that nobody's watching right now.
yeah. I thought
Um,
he was done. Like,
so that's the big thing. Like he's
yeah,
done, but he's not done because they need, of course, another speedster to be the villain. Um, so he waddles up to Gideon, the computer
yeah.
thing, right? Dude, he has to move in order to move his arm. He waves
Uh-huh.
his arm in front of this little computer screen. In order to do that, he legit has to move everything from the waist up to move his arm.
So
Like
it's worse than the Batman outfit in '89.
yeah, it is basically you have to sit in this fucking computer chair and move your Like that,
That's so
it's
bad.
so bad. It is so bad.
It
And then of
looked like
course,
a very terrible cosplay.
and because of like the way they show his eyes and everything, Tom
Yeah.
Cavanaugh, he's an older gentleman. Like he
Yeah.
looks like he's in great shape. He's just an older gentleman. And
Yeah.
so because of that, he has like all those like little like wrinkles and like crow's feet around his
Mhm.
eyes, and that did not look great with
Yeah.
the bright
Well, the
yellow.
the mask just didn't look like it fit on him.
No.
Like, it looked like, when you buy those shitty costumes from, like, Spirit Halloween, and, like, you put on the mask and it's all warped and shit? That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah, it
bad
did.
it looked. And I was just like, "Dude, you could have at least fucking hot gunned that to his face or something, like, goddamn." Yeah, Gotham Knights, fuck it, not watching it. CW, I mentioned this in Discord. CW as a channel needs to get canceled. Like, the whole network. And just be something new. Make it another Spanish channel so my grandma has something to watch. Like, because, there's channel
Let me
60
watch
and
my
channel 8.
stories.
Yeah, like my grandma needs some more channels out there. Give us a variety. Like, fuck it. Because CW, God, I don't know what they're doing.
Oh man.
Anyways, one positive piece of Batman news that has come out this week, at least for me, this is definitely not positive for other people. Tom King is writing another Batman story.
Yes.
Um, I felt like this came out of nowhere, but I mean, he's
It
been
did.
mentioning projects, but
It did. And we thought that his next project was going to be with Mitch
yeah,
because of the script.
yeah.
But if that's not the case, holy shit, this man is fucking on fire with writing stories.
You know his schedule, right? Like, do you know how he writes?
I know that he posted it once. I don't
Yeah.
remember looking at it.
He writes one book a week. And his schedule, I think his
Oh,
schedule
that's right.
starts,
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's like he writes every single day, but I think he starts on Sunday, and by like Monday or Tuesday he has to have a minimum of 14 pages. Like by one of those days. I think it's like Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday. He has to have a
Fuck.
minimum of 14 pages. And then I think by Thursday is his deadline. So he's done with the book in 5 days essentially, and then I think the last 2 days of the week are for like editing purposes. Like he's a
Gu-
machine, dude.
Guys, if you don't know how fucking crazy that is, me and Juice used to be actively writing while we were at our other
Yeah.
job. We wouldn't get to like 14 pages until like freaking 3 weeks
Yeah,
or
it was
some shit
nuts.
like that.
If
It
I was
was
really trying.
absolutely exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
So,
it's fucking insane.
yeah, he's a machine. Granted, things like that are very different when it's your job.
Yes.
Like I can output so many more YouTube videos now that it's my full-time job and I make my own
Yeah.
hours, but still,
But
that's a
I
lot.
will say I'm really excited about this. I think that we're both excited about this
Yeah.
because one of the better artists is on this book. And I
Yeah.
say that because me and Juice both actually purchased some art from this artist
Yeah.
back in 2019. Holy shit,
Yeah,
it's
for
been like
sure.
almost
What
3 years
what is
now.
the technical term for that what we bought? Because it's not
It,
the actual art, it's like the ink
the art
print.
proof.
The
Yeah,
art proof,
it's
yeah. They're
yeah,
one of one. So
yeah.
like, nobody else has the one we have. Yeah, which is fucking amazing. And they already dropped a Catwoman preview of this, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, what is he gonna give me that I might have to try to go
The
buy one of these?
the like they have already put out like 5 covers for the
Yeah.
first issue.
Yeah.
Holy shit. It
So the
looks
essentially
so
what's
good.
the book called? It's called
So
Batman.
it's Batman Killing Time. So
Yeah.
I actually have the Tom King Twitter post up right now. He
Okay.
says announcing Batman Killing Time by me and David Marquez.
Yeah.
I wrote Batman for 5 years, exploring the emotional depth of this most interesting man. Killing Time has nothing to do with any of that. This is a badass heist action epic. Mean
Nice.
folk on the run, Batman close behind.
Yeah. Yeah, so Catwoman will be a villain in this sense. Granted, if you've read Tom King's stuff, even if you're reading Batcat right now, she does villainous stuff all the time.
Yep.
She's just in his sweet spot. And he usually takes back whatever she steals, but he lets her go. It's
Yeah.
usually kind of their dynamic. But it seems like she may be more of a villain here. This might be the early days of kind of like how she uses her sexuality against him and stuff like that. Um, But yeah, it has like, I think, what, Penguin, Riddler. It might be one of those things where there's like a character per issue. I don't know, but knowing Tom King, he'll show all of them on the first issue, and then he'll separate them through the 6 issues. So it'd be very interesting to see a mini series from Tom King,
Yeah.
because he usually does 12. So there's gonna be 6 issues. Hopefully they'll all be on time, so we'll get them from six. We'll get them
Yeah,
in 6 month span.
it does look like, as of right now, David Marquez is set to do all 6. So
Let's
it's not
hope.
gonna be it's not gonna be anything
Yeah,
like Batcat right now.
yeah. We'll
But it
see.
it says here, it has the main cover variant covers a 1 in 25 variant, a 1 in 100 variant, and then it has a special The Batman movie variant as well.
Hmm. Interesting. I've never been a fan of the movie ones. But anyways, yeah, obviously buying it, super excited. Actually, the comic shop just hit me up earlier and was all like, you gonna go pick up your box or what? I was like,
Uh-oh.
oh, my bad. It's all just Tom King shit. I don't know what else
Yeah,
I'd have in there, but I'm like, what haven't I picked up? Like Supergirl and probably Human Target.
yeah.
But because I think I got the last Batcat. I could be wrong, but I gotta go stop by there. Anyways, moving on. So we have this new story. We've mentioned it a little bit before, called Shadow of the Bat, that's going to be coming out in 2022
Yes.
for Detective Comics. I didn't know it was going to be just Detective Comics, which is
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
And it says that Batman will be returning at the end of this arc. I'm so confused by this. Like,
I sent this to you and I was like, hold up, hold up. Batman is already coming back in March.
yeah,
And dude hasn't even fucking left yet. Like legit. Yeah, technically he has, because in issue, what are we, 118, right?
118. Yeah,
He technically left and is now on this mission to go find the other Batman Incorporated characters that are
yeah,
on the run and all of this. Like that's the whole reason why he leaves Gotham.
yeah,
But like they made it a really big deal that, oh, Batman's not in Gotham anymore. Who's gonna protect the city? Like,
yeah,
and they legit made it feel like, oh shit, this is like a big thing, a big move for DC, Batman and Gotham.
yeah,
And they're like, oh yeah, so all of these other characters are gonna take his place, each and every issue, blah blah blah. And then now it's like, oh, by the way, he's back.
yeah. Well, the thing is, it's funny because that means we're gonna get 119 in January, 120 in fucking February, and 121 in March. So it'll only be 4 issues in. How is other characters gonna take over for him in Gotham? Like, oh, I don't understand that. Like in Nightwing, is Nightwing gonna be in Gotham for a couple issues? Something like that. Like, I don't understand. I
It
thought the
says
Batman title was gonna be taken
it
over.
says the Detective Comics 12-part weekly crossover reaches its climax at with an appearance with.
Hmm.
So the climax doesn't necessarily mean its conclusion.
Yeah.
So like the height of this whole like Shadow of the Bat, Batman will show up,
Yeah.
and then later on he will probably be there for one issue and then leave.
Hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Tamaki is writing all this, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Yeah, so she's been killing it. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what she's gonna do there. But yeah, that is all the news we have that we got this week. But we do have multiple questions from viewers this week. Let's start off with the one we got from Discord, which I believe was from Drew. I just remember it because it was an interesting question. Drew said, "When we read Batman '89, do you read it? Do you read Tim Drake's voice in Marlon Wayans' voice?"
I don't.
Neither do I. Because when I
Because
think of Marlon Wayans, I think of Don't Be a Menace. It's like, do we have a problem? Like, I do not read the book
oh
in
my god,
that
so
voice.
good.
No. Yeah. That's how I think of Marlon Wayans, or him screaming in Scary Movie. Like, that's what I think of. And I'm just like, no, I
That's what I
don't.
think. I immediately
Yeah.
think of a scary movie, and I'm just like, I
Yeah.
can't. I actually can't.
There's no way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what voice I give to him. I just give him like a cool character.
Yeah,
Like,
I just give him a generic voice, to be completely
Yeah.
honest. Because thinking about all the all the Robins that we've had in either animation or live action, like none of them kind of work.
Yeah.
And I can't necessarily be like, oh, well, because Tim Drake was black in Titans, I'm just automatically going to give him his voice. I didn't
Yeah.
really necessarily love him at the end of that portrayal.
I didn't even think about him when I was
Yeah.
in this scenario, you know? But I did mention that, or I didn't mention that here. Oh, somebody was talking about Gotham Knights and like in our Discord, and I was like, well, I was you know, Tim Drake's been black lately in a lot of iterations, so like
Yeah.
you know, they probably wouldn't do this, but um the interesting thing here is this is a total side note. I don't know if it's in one of the books we're reading today or if it's in a book that we didn't read. It might have been Urban Legends actually from last week.
Uh-huh.
Um, at the end of that book, Batman. I want your thoughts on this. Batman says like it was a whole story about Tim Drake like Batman not he wants to help Batman, but Dick Grayson was all like, "Dude, you have to learn that there's no helping Batman. Like you can be better and like be
Yeah.
happy, but he's like lost in this crusade and he's going to do this. You can only be there for him when he needs you, you know?" And Drake is just all like, "Oh, I want to be able to help him or whatever." And at the end of the book, Batman calls him his son. He was like, "That's why it makes me happy that you're a son." Depending on the Drake you read, his parents are still alive. How do you feel about that? That Batman calling out of all of the ones that I feel like wouldn't be a parent would be Drake.
Yeah. This whole like Infinite Frontier has
Mhm.
really like I feel like screwed up writers when wanting to write their own stories and everything. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. Like, oh, I have no strings. I can do whatever. I can pull from this continuity. I can pull from this continuity. But like your main audience right now or
Mhm.
new readers have not read those old continuities.
Yeah.
So they don't understand that stuff. They're going to read the stuff that is readily available to them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the newer stuff. And right now, Drake's parents are both alive, I believe, in the New
Yeah.
52. Like that is the continuation of what we are reading.
Yeah.
So I I mean, I can understand it in the sense of like, oh, you're like my what's the wording?
Work dad. You're my work dad.
Kind
You
of
know?
or
Yeah.
like not like
He's a
not
father
taking it
figure,
yeah,
but
not taking it in a literal sense, but just like
yeah.
you are a son to this family,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's how I take it, but it's just like so weird because all of the other ones I feel like could genuinely be like he's taking them in as his own kids
Yeah,
because Drake goes home to his home every night. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like nobody else necessarily does, or they live at the manor or whatever. Like even spoiler, she has a father, but he's a villain. So
yep,
like you know, Bruce is probably more of a father to her than anything. Same thing with Cassandra, and like her parents are villains as well. So like but Tim's the only one that's ever had his parents to go home to.
yep.
So like it's just I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It just felt weird when I read that. But I could see how Batman would see him as a kid, but I wonder curious how Drake sees him. Anyways, so that's one thing. That's one question, or and with the side tangent that I put in there. So this next one comes from Raphael, who said that he actually messaged us last week, but he thinks he included a link that made the comment get hidden on YouTube. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so don't share links, y'all, if you want your comment to come through, because that's something YouTube does. I do not think we have any control over that.
If you want to share links, that's why you
In
join
Discord.
the Discord.
Yep, I agree. I agree. So their question is, they do mention a lot of stuff about Rorschach. They mention how they said I said that there was a delay in Rorschach because I thought there was, but it actually was 12 months straight of Rorschach. So thought that was an interesting bit of
Oh,
information.
it
Let's
felt
see.
like there was a delay.
Also,
Holy shit.
yeah, we also talked about Mr. Freeze and Tomasi's run. Apparently, Mrs. Freeze was killed off in a random book, and Tomasi wasn't happy about it. So she's dead.
What?
Yeah, that's what Raphael says here. So she died, and he was apparently the link was to Tomasi's like angry tweet about it, I guess.
Oh shit,
So
she died in an urban legend story.
yeah, I don't fucking remember that.
Holy
But to
shit.
the question, Raphael says, "What series do you recommend that don't belong to DC or Marvel?"
Ooh. Okay. You go first.
I mean, like, I'm assuming he's talking about comic series.
Well,
Um,
he just says what TV series.
oh, did
So
he say? Did I
yeah,
skip over TV? Okay.
he says what TV series do you recommend? And that could be streaming, of course, because we're in the new age of streaming. So
Yeah. Doctor Who, easiest one for me. Like, if
yeah,
you want something to binge, like Doctor Who's got good shit, especially if you're into sci-fi and stuff like that.
yeah,
I'm trying to think of something. I mean, to be honest, a lot of things I've been watching lately are just sitcoms or like
yeah,
anime. Like New
yeah.
Girl's fucking phenomenal. If you want to laugh at stupid shit, like I love
Mhm.
New Girl. Last serious thing I watched, that's not an anime. Um, fuck. I don't know. Watchmen's owned by DC. I don't fucking know. I'd go tell Doctor Who. 'Cause I binge Doctor Who so much all the time. Like, not unfortunately not what's her name's content, but
Jody,
yeah,
I
right
have not
before
seen
her though.
I have not seen any of this season. They're all waiting for me
I
on
haven't
YouTube.
watched it. Yeah, I haven't watched it either. I will say I did start watching her season again, but it got to the Rosa Parks episode and I couldn't. I can't watch that episode again, dude.
Mm,
Like the white racist in that thing pisses me off so
yeah,
much. And
yeah.
but it's good, great acting,
Mhm.
great episode, but like just the racism in it alone just infuriates me. And that is a good thing. If you can get an emotional response from something, that's just so good. But it's just like I don't want to watch it again.
It's rough. It was a rough
Yeah,
episode.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'd go Doctor Who.
so not to cheat and just say Doctor Who also. Um, my wife and I are going back and watching the show Psych. It was
Oh,
a
nice.
USA, I think it was a USA show or a
Yeah, it
TNT
was.
show.
I think so.
One of the other. Hilarious show. The main guy, I believe his name is Sean in the show.
The white
He,
guy or the black guy?
he is the white guy.
Yeah.
He is a local in the town that we are in. Uh,
Really?
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
or in the city that we're in. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a local there. And then uh, also just if you want to uh, laugh, but also have like a somewhat serious, show to watch is
Mhm.
Murders in the Building on Hulu. Um, Selena
Okay.
Gomez. It was Selena
Oh, I heard
Gomez,
about that. I heard it's really
uh,
good.
Steve Martin, and then oh shoot, who was the other one? Martin Short. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Steve Martin and Martin Short. Martin Short is just fucking hilarious.
yeah.
So go check that show out. It's only 10 episodes, and
I heard it was really good.
they're working on season 2 right now. It
Nice.
is so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Me
It's
me
where
and
they
Abby.
all watch the same podcast or something, right?
Well,
And
no,
it's
no,
like
no. So they all meet because they listen to the same podcast,
yeah,
and then that night they learn that there was a murder in their building, and they're like, "Hey, let's make a podcast about it, but we're gonna solve the mystery."
yeah.
And like they kind of get intertwined into it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
So
seemed like a really cool premise. Yeah, yeah.
it was really really cool. Like me and Abby were like actually legitimately trying to figure out who the murderer was and everything.
Yeah.
It was really fun. So
That's
go
cool.
check that
That's
show out.
cool. Yeah, I have Clay's married, so he has to I feel like do the obligation of like we watch stuff together, you know what I mean? I don't have that, so I'm constantly working on shit all the time or playing games, and then my file gets corrupted and I have to fucking find a way to fix the file, which happened right before this fucking podcast. But yeah, for the most part, dude, I haven't watched anything new because I just can't. It's hard for me to justify sitting down watching something new, and it's so hard for me not to think about like I could be doing all this. Clay sent me this TikTok about how like people with inner monologues happen, and it's like, oh, you're dyslexic, right? And apparently my mind is like 50 million times harder, which I've never thought about it in that sense because like
You have a
yeah,
3D like
dude,
mental capacity.
I genuinely this is why I want to be a writer and like a movie director so much is because I see this shit in my head all the time. And
Yeah.
I love making up scenarios and doing all this kind of bullshit. And I see it play in my head all the time, which is why it's so very easy for me to get in my feels too, because I make up a whole fucking fictional scenario and I'm just like, oh, I hurt myself. So like, it's just so ridiculous. But like, I don't know, man. It's so hard for me to sit down and watch something new lately because I feel like I should be working. So it's unfortunate. But I've seen all these shows that look amazing. Like that the Apple one, that's M. Night Shyamalan, that Servant one looks kind of
Oh
crazy.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
Babysit. I don't know what the fuck it's
Oh,
called.
also on Apple, Defending Jacob. It's with Chris Evans. It's a limited series.
Mhm.
It's just one season.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, it's a one and done. That one is also really, really cool
Yeah.
because like
See?
there's a twist at the very end. That's fun. Witcher season 2 is out today.
Oh wow.
Might be getting into that sometime this weekend. And also He-Man and Voltron, both on Netflix. Go check those out.
Damn, that's a lot. Yeah. Anyways, there's you go for that one. What else? What else? This one was interesting from Ivan Jr. What's a crazy theory for the Batman that you actually believe? Love the podcast, guys. So,
See, this is very confusing because
mhm,
like you we as fans, because I actually had to look this up because
mhm,
I remember looking at this question and I was
yeah,
like, okay, does he mean like fan theories that we make up or
yeah,
theories that are in the DC universe that like Batman plays coy with, you know?
yeah. Mhm.
So, how did you take it?
So it was very hard. I was gonna look this up, but I was just like, I don't want to also like start looking up theories and be like, oh, I like that one. You know what I mean? So I was just trying to think of
I will
my
be
own
honest,
stuff.
I looked it up and
Hmm.
there was like a list of 10
Of
things and then
course.
every other website just copied that one list.
Yeah, that's what they do. No, so there's not a theory that when it comes to the Batman that I can say like I like or think is crazy. I can tell you one I absolutely fucking hate, and that is the Joker Super Saiyan theory. I've mentioned this so many times. I fucking hate this concept of people are like, oh yeah, Joker is so smart and he's so sane that he actually knows they're in a fucking comic book. And I'm like, fuck out of here. I do not need Joker thinking he's like in fucking he's Deadpool. I don't
Yeah.
need that. I hate fourth person wall breaking shit. I'm not a fan. Fits for Deadpool. He's the only character that does it. It's fine, but I don't want to see
There's
anybody else
only
do it.
one other thing that I actually enjoy fourth wall breaking in.
And what's that?
Fresh Prince.
Oh yeah, yeah. Fresh Prince is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I'm just not a big fan of the Super Saiyan theory. Or it's also like I don't know, they also try to put it on that he's like so I don't know. You just can't just it's hard for me to justify somebody that could murder so many people in a comic book, but they're so sane that they're doing it for the right reason or
Yeah,
whatever. Like it
he
makes no fucking
apparently
sense.
it's the way it makes sense is that he's so crazy that he's not crazy.
Yeah, it's
Is
fucking
is
stupid.
it's really dumb.
Yeah.
Um But there is the very famous theory that Batman is actually a Arkham inmate, and then all
Mhm.
of his doctors are his rogues gallery. You know, um,
Yeah, yeah.
that one
I've heard that one.
is that one's a fun one. You know, but we just literally got a comic book of that
Yeah.
last year. Uh,
Yeah.
Killer Smile. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
and we enjoyed it to a point and then it didn't have a great ending, you know?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
think people can really like necessarily really play with that theory because then
yeah.
it kind of just ruins the fun of Batman.
Well, you want to know what that is? Is that's that same theory that everybody does with every kid show that we ever grew up on. They're like, well, you want to know the crazy theory about Fresh Prince? He actually died when he fought those guys on the basketball court, and he's
Jeez.
actually in heaven with his whole family or whatever. Like that's why he's a Fresh Prince, and that's why he breaks the wall. Or like they also said that for like Ed and Eddie, like the boys are
Oh
actually in
yeah.
purgatory and they're dead or
Uh-huh.
whatever. Like, they do it for every show.
Hmm.
And so, like, it's just because it's so easy to do, right? Like, you just got to point out random little things that happen in the show because sitcoms are so ridiculous. Like, Family Matters was one of my favorite shows growing up, but it was batshit crazy. Urkel was able to change his DNA to be Bruce Lee. Like, what the fuck? Like, but I loved it. Like, if he just had a hair from a famous person, he could change their DNA and become that person because of this fucking porter potty he had. Like, it was so ridiculous, but I loved it. So you can make those crazy ass theories, especially when you somebody that grew up on them and you just fucking they probably get high and talk about it with their other friends. They're like,
Yeah.
"What if they were all dead, dude? It'd be so fucking crazy." Like, so I feel like that's what a lot of the Batman theories are. But I feel like we've read so much over 80 years that any kind of theory like that just wouldn't make the story or character any better,
Yeah.
you know? It's just I don't see how any theory would improve, you
Like
know?
I've liked, because to be completely honest, some of these theories have become Elseworld stories,
Yeah.
have become Black Label stories, have become Vertigo stories. So they're no longer theories, but like I do like how in the DC universe, like, oh, the Batman's just a myth, man. Oh
Yeah.
no, man, I heard he was real, and I heard he's a vampire. He's an actual
Yeah.
Batman. And like some of those stuff, I really like those
Yeah.
like thug theories, because it
Mhm.
really builds the
Mythos.
stoicness and mythos of Batman. Like,
Yeah.
so I do enjoy those a lot.
Yeah, built into the story, I'm totally fine with, but, like, fan-made ones, I'm not a big one, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that answers the question. Watch it be he was asking, he was like, "No, theories for the Batman movie," and then we'll be like, "Oh, fuck." Like
Have you heard any theories other than other than the fact that I shared it when we were talking about the Batman, with
Yeah.
the theory that his parents are not going to be the greatest of Gothamites,
Yeah.
like there has been in other reiterations of movies, because we've seen the bad Waynes in
Yeah.
video games and
Mhm.
comics. Now we're finally going to see bad, Martha and Thomas in live action, basically.
Yeah.
But other than that, the theory of Joker, if he's really in there. I
Yeah.
mean, if they've shared two different screenings, clearly he's
Mhm.
there, and
Yeah.
at least one of them.
Yeah. I don't care. I try not to. I don't want to know a lot about that movie because the
Yeah.
things I'm already hearing, I'm starting not to like it. So I'm just like,
Mhm.
I just want to not know too much. Anyways, the last question we got comes from Kid Stu. He says, "First Batman I've read since Tom King's writing. I thought it was pretty good issue." Talking about issue 118 from Williamson. Actually, really liked the Killer Croc part because it reminded me of one of my favorite BTS episodes, BTAS episodes, where Batman dressed up as Croc to blend in at the poker table, which is a really good episode. Which
Mhm.
that's the one where they all talk about like they almost had the bat.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a really good one. But his question is, what aspects of Batman's character would you guys most want to see in Williamson explore?
So I
Detective is always the go-to for me.
Detective is
You
always a
know?
go-to, and that's exactly what I was gonna say. We made that comment when we talked about the issue last week.
Yeah.
But I would like to see. Hmm. I feel like we kind of got a tease of it, because
Hmm.
when Barbara and Batman were talking, and they're like, "Oh, well, what did you used to do when you celebrated a win?"
Yeah.
And like you saw him with Gordon, you saw him with Superman, you saw him with Alfred. Um, I want to, and crossing my fingers, they didn't let King do it. Let's hope that Williamson can do it. I want
Yeah.
to see a happy Batman.
Yeah, I think I would go with that too. Like, I want more of the Bat Cat relationship where they're not just fighting all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, Williamson and King are really good friends, apparently. Like, I was literally waiting to get a Tom King autograph, and he was just there chatting with Williamson. He's like, "Oh, we're sorry." Like, Williamson even said it, like, "Oh, my bad, man. I just need to tell him something." Like, so, like, I know they're really good friends. And, I hope that, yeah, I want him to continue King's run, essentially, but just the happier part in his own way. Like,
Yeah.
all right, him and Catwoman are together, blah blah blah. Even though they try to destroy that for the last couple years, But he already hinted at it with that one particular scene you mentioned. They had a Batcat moment there. So yeah, I hope we get to see more of that. But I don't know what they're trying to do in Catwoman, because here's the thing: if you don't continue that relationship in Batman's story, because obviously we know Batman supersedes Catwoman in any way, eventually there's gonna be a scene or something in either Catwoman or Batman where they hook up with another person. So
Yeah.
you either need to solidify that now, or it's gonna be like, oh, so and so cheated on them. You know what I mean?
You know what? That does remind me. I do want one other aspect that I feel like we are going to be getting.
Mhm.
I want more Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't use that Bruce Wayne. Well,
Like
Tamaki's been doing a good job of it.
sh- she has. She's been doing a very good job of like putting Bruce Wayne in the limelight due to the fact that like the whole like no mask thing, the
Yeah.
magistrate, but now that's gone,
Mhm.
Um so I do want to see a little bit more of Bruce Wayne. I know right now he has some money problems, quote unquote, if that's
Yeah.
even like still a thing. But I do think that like because of how smart Bruce is, I've always thought Bruce to be like almost like fucking James Bond. Like
Mhm.
he could legit be a
Yeah.
chameleon in whatever situation he needs to be in.
Mhm.
And I kind of want to see that, We don't get a whole lot of that. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people there's this whole thing about a criteria of like how many panels you can go without showing Batman. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you need to at least have like 3 pages of Batman to call it a Batman book or whatever,
Yeah.
you know? So I want to see more Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you. But that is all the questions we have for this week. Again, if you guys want to be a part of the podcast, go over to our YouTube channel, which is Batman News Weekly, and drop a comment in the latest episode, and we'll more than likely read it. Like there, we hit 4 questions in one go there, so definitely go do that if you guys want to be a part of the show. But moving on to comics, what was your least favorite book out of the 4 we got this week?
My least favorite out of the 4, let's see here. So I'm looking at them now. The
Mine was
4 being
probably Imposters.
yeah, yeah, I would have to agree with you there.
Yeah. We'll just go into that one. What was your biggest gripe about it?
That we guessed it from the very
Yeah.
first issue.
Yeah. It was such a predictable fucking book. Like so predictable. And like I didn't care about anything that happened in this book. Like I don't feel like at the end of it like I'm just like wow, I'm happy with the ending. I don't feel like I'm happy with the relationships. Like anything in this like I don't care about this book. I will forget about it. I won't buy it. There's nothing that wowed me about this book.
See, the problem with this book, and sometimes it works out for stories, sometimes it doesn't. For one, I don't think it worked out with this story. I'm very questionable if it'll work out with Robin and Batman,
Mhm.
but it worked out with Harley Quinn. It worked out somewhat with Batman Damned. These books being only 3 issues
Yeah.
is hurting the book
Yeah. I
because
agree.
then you have to condense your story, and then from there you have to prolong whatever scenes that you felt didn't really need to be prolonged, but because of the page count you have to.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting anything from this imposter story that's really like grasping me.
Yeah. Well, we've mentioned this on this podcast before. The term creative writing is there for a reason, right?
Mhm.
Like we have read stories that are 5 pages long that are amazing, you know? So if you have three books with this last issue is 58 pages. If you have 58 pages of a Batman book and you can't make it interesting, like that's just not great writing by you. Like that's just on you.
Yeah.
Because I'll forever reference this. John Carpenter had one Joker book and he
The dog's got a
fucking
gun.
knocked it. He knocked it out of the fucking park, man. Like, you have to
I need to
when
go
it
back and read that fucking book, man.
they need to just make it a hardcover by itself and I will buy it. Like I don't care. Um but like that is what you do, right? Like look at fucking Kevin Smith, another one I always reference. He had what,
Yeah.
like 5 pages, 8 pages, something like that?
8
And
pages. Yeah.
yeah, and he put a stamp on Batman because people
Mhm.
remember like, "Oh yeah, do you know that Batman actually melted down his parents' killer's gun and it's part of his like chest plate?" I'm like, "That's fairly new information if you just started reading Batman, but it's interesting that people know that already."
Yeah.
So like it's those kind of stories that I think are really impactful. So I agree that some of these things could use more stories than, fucking 3 issues. But at the same time, can you imagine if this was the same shit we were getting and it was spread over 12? We would drop this book.
Yeah, probably.
You know?
But see, this is the same issue that I have with some movies lately. Like there is this sentiment that people only like certain things with certain characters.
Mhm.
And so they're just like, "Hey, let's make this a clip show."
Yeah.
And then like, you know, basically marking off the checklist for a Batman book, and you
Mhm.
got a Batman book. It's like, okay, you got all the great moments. You quote unquote great moments,
Yeah.
but you forgot your story. Like this this doesn't grasp me enough to care about the characters in this book. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I should care about Batman because he's Batman. But this woman that their relationship was what, 3 pages in the last book?
Yeah.
And then like, oh,
Just
by
'cause
the
he used the
way,
word "I love you," like,
exactly.
or, you
Like,
know, "I
oh,
love
like
her," or whatever.
we found out we were both orphans, and
Mhm.
I love her, and I had to beat the shit out of her when I was Batman once. It's like,
Yeah.
I what is this? Like, I don't
Mhm.
care.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, kind of I don't care. For those of you that are like, "Oh, where's the review?" To be honest, like, the bald cop guy that we mentioned in the first book, we're like, "That guy's probably gonna be the bad guy." He's the bad guy. He's the
Yeah.
Batman. We knew it. We guessed it from the start. What happens with him and Bruce? The girl upholds her cop duties and is all like, "You're going to jail," and he's like, "Go for it. You help me catch this guy. Cool." And she doesn't they fake his death, which was so random.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, Bruce Wayne fakes his death and he got killed in a drive. Like, they gave him the Tupac treatment, which I thought was really weird. So he just got fucking shot up. I mean, then again, maybe this writer knows that Tupac's still alive, and then they were like, "I'm just gotta hint this in this Batman book." So yeah, Bruce Wayne gets killed in a drive-by or some shit like that. And then at the end, he's leaving flowers to his parents and like the other parents and shit and stuff like that. And that's the end of the fucking book. It's like, oh, he's
Yep.
still alive, and Batman will be a thing. And I'm just like, I really hope this isn't the way the movie is. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I
because
really
I
hope
hope it's
not.
not this predictable,
Yeah, yeah.
because that would suck.
And honestly, like I said, there's like these cool moments where like Batman Bruce throws a batarang into the guy's face. It's like, oh shit. Like visually that looks cool and is kind of intense,
Yeah,
but I can't just wait until that one panel, you know?
yeah, yeah,
I need to be intrigued throughout the entire thing.
for sure. It's not like, that would be like if you were watching Dragon Ball Z, but you were only waiting for Goku to go Super Saiyan. Like, you didn't care about anything else.
Fuck, that's a lot
Like,
of
you know what I mean?
episodes.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it would feel.
That's
But,
2 seasons.
yeah. So, luckily, I love all the stupid shit in between, but I'm just saying that's kind of the equivalent here, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? If that's how you were doing it. But anyways, moving on to I Am Batman. What are your thoughts on this 4 issues in so far?
So the one thing that I did not like about this issue is the fact that like it starts off in an area of I guess this story that like it just jumps into it. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh boom. And it's like, okay, we did not leave off here. What the fuck is going on? Like I
Yeah.
I I had to like sit there and like, oh wait, what happened with this other issue? Oh yeah, this all happened.
Mhm.
Like I'm completely lost. And then we knew this because of solicits, but the issue's not even there yet. But we learn that this other detective is just so happening to move to New York because she
Yep.
is like being transferred due to the fact that she's basically a bad fucking cop or whatever, or a
Yeah.
bad detective. And I'm just like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
No, I don't need any other connection to Gotham. Like,
Mhm.
because that's all she's there for. It's like, oh, you know how they were like button heads in Future State, and then they were button heads again in my run of I Am Batman. Well,
Yeah.
now they're both moving to New York, baby. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care. Like,
That's gonna be
give
the love interest, right? It has to be.
I don't know.
You know?
I honestly don't care. Like I thought it would be an interesting thing to put him on his own in New
Yeah.
York to kind of find his way, but like now he has a little bit of a crutch. He has this like, oh, I have some resemblance of this, I have somebody to relate to. Like
Yeah.
it's fucking like you're trying to be Batman. Ridley,
Yeah.
you're trying to write Batman. and it's not working out for you, bud.
Yeah, so my issues with this one is hey, remember that cool ending we had to the first issue, or was it the second issue where he got unmasked? Where's
Oh,
that at?
that's another thing. We just got done with the magistrate. We
Mhm.
just got done with all the peacekeeper shit. Simon Saint fucking dies in this issue, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
Like,
splattered.
and then this new character brings in a fucking peacekeeper variant. Like, it's just
Yeah.
another kind of peacekeeper.
Mhm.
So it's like
Yes.
it's the same fucking story.
And they totally do the anime thing where they're like, this is gonna make the peacekeepers look like fucking little girls or whatever. So they make them super more stronger. You know what I mean? Um, but none of that was really my issue here because I actually somewhat enjoyed this story. You know, for what it was. The art's great. You know, I thought the
Art
art
is
was
still
cool.
art is still like
Um,
on point. Yeah, for sure.
but here's why: is at first because they try to resolve the issue, but at the same time, like I don't know if I like it or not. But Lucius Fox is just terrible.
I don't understand I have guys, even when we weren't covering it, I was reading The Second Son. I was
Hmm.
reading the basically the rise of Jace as where he is right now.
Yeah, Jice.
I do not understand this immediate hatred that Lucius has
Yeah,
for Batman, for vigilanteism. Like, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand the trauma that, and even his wife brings it up.
yeah,
Hey, I understand what happened with Punchline. And he's like, oh, you think I'm broken? Yeah, motherfucker, you're broken.
yeah,
Like, she did some shit to you, and you just need to come to terms with it. Like,
yeah,
and I can understand how that can scare somebody. I
yeah.
100% agree with that.
And
But
I do want to applaud. Sorry to cut you off, but I want to because it was really important. It's why I kind of liked the book and saw where they're going. But when his wife is telling him like, "Yeah, you're broken," but you know, you it's okay to ask for help, but we usually don't.
yeah,
That was good.
that was a good part. Like,
Yeah,
I do applaud that. And I'm
yeah,
like, fuck, relate to that a whole bunch, you know?
yeah,
And I get that, and I understand where they were attempting to go.
yeah.
But for me, as somebody who is following the Batman title all
Hmm.
the way into this series, I don't see how Lucius Fox, knowing who Batman is,
Yeah,
can now, like, yeah, fuck masks, fuck Batman.
yeah. Um, Here's my thing too. There was this moment in this book where we know Seer or whoever these people are starting to work for. I don't really care. This guy is like, "Oh, you're here to find me, right?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Are you gonna shoot me?" He's like, "No, the gun's for me." And this guy kills himself. Jace
Mhm.
just lets it happen. And like
Yeah,
Batman, Bruce Wayne would normally try to stop this. And if you guys want proof, go watch Ego or go read Batman Ego.
go listen to our last podcast when we reviewed the last issue of
Yeah,
The
the detective.
Detective.
Yeah. And so like Jace is his whole purpose is to take up this mantle to try to right a wrong he did by running somebody over or killing them. I don't
Mhm.
remember what
Yeah.
happened. He's trying to right this wrong, and Batman, his whole purpose is to save people, even if it's from themselves. And Jace just lets this guy fucking off himself. And I understand you're not going to be able to save everybody, and that's why again I bring up Batman Ego. If I remember this correctly, Batman is chasing this criminal and he's chasing him down and they end up getting on top of a building or whatever. And he's all like, it's over, stop running. He's like, nah, man, I'll have to run for the rest of my life or whatever. He's like, you don't know what you do to people. And he's like, you know what, we'll deal with this in the courts. He's like, nah, I'm going to deal with this now. And this guy offs himself. And it's like the first time Batman sees somebody do that. And he's like, no, wait. And then he fucking kills himself. And he realizes, like, I'm going to have to deal with this. Like, there are
Yeah.
going to be people that are going to rather take their life than pay for deal with justice. And it's a really great fucking story. And just to see Jace not even try, like, I understand you're not going to save everybody because, you can't throw the batarang misses, whatever. Like, but he didn't even try. And so I'm like, so do you care that you killed somebody? Do you care about life? Or are you only doing this superficially? And if that's the story they want to tell, where Jace is trying to get over what he's done, but he doesn't really care about all the bad people, then maybe that's a story I want to read more.
And
But
there's a line with it too. He says, shit, what does he say? Let me actually bring it up. You keep going.
yeah, the man kills himself in front of me. I feel like I should feel something for him, but he's just one more link in the chain that's already cost maybe a dozen people their lives. I feel like all I feel is the desire to deliver some payback for the dead.
Yeah. And I start to like, okay, the first part of that, okay, I get.
Yeah,
And then like, now it's time for payback. Dude, you watched him kill himself.
yeah,
Like, you could have stopped it.
yeah. And that goes to a moral dilemma, right? Like, I think we've all probably at one point or another been like, that person's better dead than rotting in jail, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they still get to live, the person they killed doesn't. There's a big moral dilemma there.
Mm,
Taxpayer money, it's a lot.
yeah.
Um, but like, I just don't that mentality of like, oh yeah, this is like justice for the dead already. Like, Batman would never think that way, because if that was the case, then he would have let Joker kill himself so many times. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? He wouldn't have a rogues gallery, you know what I mean? Because he would have let them all off themselves or do whatever, but he believes that people can change. He believes in rehabilitation, all that jazz. But Jace seems to be very misconstrued, that word. But like, he doesn't understand like what Batman is. And this is where I'm thinking, like, if this doesn't, I mean, he's moving to New York now, so it doesn't matter. But there should have been a moment where Batman confronts him and I think beats his ass and says, if you're gonna try to be Batman, you need to learn to be Batman.
I think that there needs to be a point where Bruce and Jace are, and not this like, oh, I approve of you being Batman. Like,
Yeah,
none of this like spoon-fed shit like, oh, he has to approve of him because that's my character. No, like, make it compelling. Have
yeah,
an actual conversation. Like, to the point where it's like, hey, and we talked about this. He can be incorporated in a like international or stateswide like Batman Incorporated, not just
yeah,
internationally,
yeah.
and him be like, hey, I'm gonna let you do this because you're already doing it, but I'm gonna
Hmm.
check in on you, and I'm gonna make sure that you're still worth doing this for,
Yeah,
and over like a few months or however you want to do it, like, have that trust finally close the gap and be like, yeah, you are Batman, just not Batman of Gotham. You can be a
yeah.
Batman somewhere else, and that's totally fine,
I still think he should fail to be Batman, because I don't think we get enough of those stories in comics, right? Like, it's always succeeding, we win, we do this, all that shit.
Yeah,
I What would be cool here is to steal the one good thing Tynion and Snyder did during their Justice League run, is every time it switched over to a Legion of Doom story, they scratched out the Justice League on the title and put Legion of Doom. Like, I always thought that was
yeah,
cool. They should do it to a point where we have this story where Batman beats his ass or whatever. He's like, "You're not Batman, and you never will be." And then for the next few issues that follow, it just says "I am," and then Batman is scratched out, and he's finding out who he's going to be after that. He's like, "If I can't be Batman, who am I going to be?"
that's cool. Yeah, I
You
like that.
know. And then he maybe becomes a different part of the Bat family in New York, or he just does something different and he finds his
Yeah,
own identity. Because, like, you got to also think about it too, right? Like, this is character development, people. Um, he lives in the shadow of his father. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like, Batman does the same thing. And everybody's going to live in the shadow of Batman, right? So if he can't be Batman, then who is he? So he has to find out who he's going to be. And so like, that just adds to character development. Like, all right, I can't be Batman, so I got to be something better, or better, something new. And then when you go from there, that's how you tell stories. That's how you get character development. Not all this other random bullshit. Like, this has been our main point from the start. Like, if you don't make Jace extremely compelling, everybody's gonna remember him as like, oh yeah, that guy that was Black Batman for a little bit. Like, remember Black Batman? Like, and nobody's
yeah.
gonna give a shit. And it's unfortunate because like, he just really shat on Batwing. Like, nobody gives a shit
Yeah.
about Luke, and it's
And
like sucks.
and I will say this, like Ridley, I know that you've won awards. I know that you have potential for your writing because of that. I read your Black Panther. I read half of your Black Panther, to be honest, and then I had to put it down.
Yeah,
Um, I just think the way Ridley writes some characters would be portrayed better in a movie compared to a comic book.
yeah,
Like I just think it works differently. They don't translate well in the way that Ridley is wanting to have these characters talk, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't agree. I don't agree with it either. But yeah, it is what it is, man. I don't really have anything else to say on Ridley, to be honest. But we have two other books. Out of the last two books, which is your favorite?
Um I I kind of want to say I liked Robin and Batman more than Batman Adventures, but Batman
Yeah.
Adventures was actually like for a conclusion, it did a really good job. Like it did everything it
Yeah.
needed to do, you know?
Yeah,
Um
let's dive into that because I agree there was some stuff that happened in Robin and Batman I thought was pretty cool.
yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know, in Adventures, this is the final issue in an arc where a former villain has come back to Gotham to run for mayor. And they're using all these dastardly tricks to try to win this election by using Mad Hatter's technology. And Barbara had just discovered that Mad Hatter was working with this guy, and she gets knocked out in the last issue. And this is where we're starting. And also at the same time, Bruce had just found out that Clayface was not in his cell, and the guard was being controlled,
Yeah.
thinking that Clayface was there. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Well, we find out that the guard was being controlled by Mad Hatter. Tim Drake gets a little bit of like under mind control and tries to like kill a doctor with a batarang, and luckily Batman's able to
Yeah,
stop it.
Batman stops it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then Tim Drake's like, "Oh, let me at her," and he's all like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with him." And they start talking about it, and like Drake's like knocked out on the couch or like laying down. He's like, take 5, and Batman starts talking to this doctor, and she's all like, "I don't know how Jarvis Tetch would have got out of here. Like, I didn't sign out on him, and blah blah blah." And he's like, "Well, apparently you did." And she's like,
Yeah.
"What? Like, I would have never done that." So we find out that Tetch has been controlling everybody to get out of like Arkham and stuff, which is really cool. And then they go try to find, freaking Mad Hatter. There's a little old lady with a machine gun in this area, and she's like, da, 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 and they're like,
Dude,
"Oh shit!"
I love this series because
Yeah,
it is the heart of the show. Like
yeah,
some batshit crazy just happens, and you're just like, "Yep, I'm just gonna go with it." You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's
And
just
that's the great thing about the animated series. I totally agree with you. And then since Barbara, they didn't want to kill Barbara. They're like, you know what, we can use her. Like she's part of the GCPD. Like her dad's part of the GCPD. Let's use
Mhm.
her. So they put on a bandana or a headband on her head to control her. And she goes and she's like talking to her dad, like nonchalantly and all that jazz. Bruce is, talking to Alfred in the cave. And they get a visitor, which is the guy that's
Hamilton's
Bruce's friend.
son,
Yeah.
who from the very first arc where we learned that he was a part, the old mayor when he was murdered, he was
Yes.
actually a part of the Court of Owls and all of that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's all like, "Bruce, like, what did you say?" Because we saw in the last issue that Bruce kind of got mind controlled a little bit, and he was like, "Oh," or he was caught off guard or whatever.
yeah,
And we kind of had questions about that. We were like, "I don't know, man. Bruce is usually pretty good in those situations." But that's why we were like, "I think he got mind controlled a little bit." So that was interesting. He's like, "Dude, you kind of just made it like seem like you're cool with him. Like you gotta tell the press outside that you're on my side." And he's like, "I don't know if you want to do that, man." He's like, "No, we need it to win, man. Like it's so close." And then what ends up coming out is Barbara's on TV talking about
this
that
was
this
fucked, dude.
guy was like abusive and like fucked up and all this kind of shit, and this is the competition. And he's like, "What?" Like he's like freaking out, and Bruce is all like, So do you really want to go outside and talk to the media right now?
They'll eat me alive. No
Yeah.
way. Where's the back door?
Yeah, and so like Barbara's like crying. It's essentially like Me Too type shit is the vibe they're trying to give off here, which is kind of crazy. And it's just like, whoa. So Tim Drake and Batman are like, whoa, we gotta go find Barbara or whatever, So they go and they try to do that. They go back to the mansion where he thinks the villain's at, but they've all kind of got out of there. There's these small little panels of Harley Quinn and Ivy kind of just chilling, and Harley Quinn's like, "I'm voting for Harley Quinn."
Yeah, she's like,
And
screw these guys. I'm writing
yeah,
in. And Poison Ivy's like, wait, Harley Quinn? And she's like, yeah, let the landslide begin.
yeah. So then like obviously Dick Grayson wants to go save Barbara, so he's like, I'm closer, I'm gonna go check it out. He gets into a fight with this big Birdman that was on loan to this mayor guy from Penguin. We fighting ensues. We have what is this guy's name, the bad dude? I don't want to keep calling him just fucking mayor dude. I forgot what
Shit.
his name
What is
is,
his
but he's
name?
Mayfield, I think. Emerson Mayfield.
Yeah.
So Emerson Mayfield is over here talking to all of the villains, and he's like, "Look, when I become mayor, we should all work together because this and that." And Joker, I love how Joker's like, politicians. Like he's
It's like,
disgusted by
yeah, yeah.
politicians.
Out of everything, this reminds me.
Mhm.
There's a crossover comic between Marvel and DC, and he teams up with the Red Skull, and then
Yeah,
like halfway through, he finds out that Red Skull's a Nazi. He's like,
yeah,
"What the fuck? Fuck you, man! I may be a criminal mastermind, but at least I'm not a Nazi." And he fucking
yeah,
stalks him. This is the same kind of vibe that I got from that. I was like, "Fuck
yeah.
yeah,
So I thought that was awesome. So Batman breaks into Arkham or wherever they're at. They beat up everybody, and Emerson's all like, "You're not gonna get away with this" or whatever, and he's trying to go after Joker. And we find out that he still loses with
yeah."
everything he did with mind control, buying vote, whatever he was doing. Still lost the election, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "How?" And they are essentially like, "Ah, it looks like all your tricks couldn't work."
And Joker is just having a fucking just like the time of his life. He's like, "Are you
Yeah,
freaking kidding me? You did this, 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 and you still freaking lost.
yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you, man?"
Yeah, and then they're like pulling him away, and Batman's holding him and Joker apart. He's like, "Ooh, sore loser." Ooh. So I fucking love that, which is hilarious. And then there's like this small little panel of Quinn, and they're like, or no, it's I think Vicky Vale is all like, "Yeah, 42% went to this, and there was one random vote for Harley Quinn," and she's like, "Oh," and Ivy's like, "Landslide next time, honey." Like, oh, it was just so good. Like that's the one thing I loved about the animated series too, because the cool thing here is the animated series never really went into the love aspect of Ivy or Harley,
Hmm.
but here they're totally doing it, which I really like.
Yeah.
Um, and then at the very end of it, we have Bruce Wayne congratulating the new mayor, and Barbara Gordon has signed on to do a tell-all of her experience, and then the whole Bat family's like, "Tell-all," and she's like, well, "Maybe not everything."
Everything. And
And
then
then it
that's how it
ends,
ends. Yeah.
and it's just such good. That would have been a good episode, like, or a good
It,
arc.
yeah.
Like,
Like, and this is why I'm so glad that the audio drama is coming out with
yeah,
all of the returning cast and everything, because this is just one step closer to possibly getting new seasons of Batman the animated series. Now, I
yeah,
think it will be a little bit harder considering the fact that that new animated series is coming out on HBO Max and Cartoon Network,
yeah.
but it will be the next best thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that they should bring it back just because like everybody's getting older.
Mhm.
So, you want to try to capitalize on them now. Especially when you at least have cuz like is Conroy confirmed for that new series or no?
No.
So,
Nobody is
like
confirmed for
yeah.
the well, for the audio drama or for the
No, no, no,
animated
for
show?
the animated show.
He is not confirmed yet.
Yeah. So like I think I originally wanted them to bring this back. I didn't want a new thing. I wanted the return of, BTAS. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens going forward, cuz it doesn't look like they're going to go like hardcore with it, right? Like it's not going to be rated R or anything. So I'm just kind of like,
No, but they did say that they are going to be pushing against the grain. So
yeah,
it's going to be not as dark as some of the animated movies that they've done because those have been geared towards adults.
yeah,
But they do want to still because it's going to be on Cartoon Network and HBO Max. So it's going to be like
yeah,
to
yeah,
help both mediums.
for sure. Yeah, that might actually be good to keep it in line because we've seen what Bruce Tim does when he doesn't have limits, and it's just kind of like, ooh, you know.
Barbara
Uh,
and Bruce.
yeah, that or Harley and fucking
Oh
Nightwing.
God.
Yeah, that was different. I saw somebody on Reddit finish that scene. That was funny. R34 loves to finish scenes, I'll tell you that much. But anyways, let's move on to the final book of this week, which is Robin and Batman 2. Now, this was pretty interesting because it's definitely telling the story from the perspective of Robin, become Robin, going to preppy school and all this jazz with being Batman's ward. And we know in the last issue, we kind of think we were hit or miss on the last issue, right? Like we liked it, but not fully. It was kind
We
of,
were we it was a bit jarring with
yeah,
how Bruce was kind of treating Dick Grayson. And then it was
yeah,
also kind of jarring how Jason Todd like Dick Grayson was
yeah.
because we've always known Dick Grayson to be the, you know,
More
what's the
upbeat.
yeah, more upbeat, the happy go lucky, kind of
Hmm.
character. He has been a little bit depressed. He has been a little bit angsty and angry.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of that still in the beginning of this issue,
Hmm.
but it starts to turn into something a little bit more in the
Yeah.
middle.
Because it's his birthday.
Yeah.
So Batman's all like, "Hey, I'm sorry I went through your stuff." Because he gets into a fight at the start. He beats the shit out of all these people, and the principal's all like, "Yo, what is wrong with your kid?" He's like, "You should probably come talk to Bruce." He's also showing up here with bruises. Like, what's going on? Is like Bruce beating him
And then
essentially? And
Alfred's like, "What
yeah, he's
are you
pissed.
insinuating? Like, what
Yeah,
the fuck is wrong with you?"
and he's
And
like,
then
"Maybe you should run your school better."
I love the
Yeah,
last like Alfred basically gets the mic drop when he's like, "Hey, instead of, worrying about my employer and how he, raises his children, maybe you should, get a better grip on how you, teach your freaking students basically."
yeah. So there's that. Alfred gives him a new journal, like with a lock on it or something like that. He's like,
Yeah.
like fucking Bruce couldn't unlock that. Like, really, Alfred? Like, but it's a gesture that matters. And he's like, I need a new one. And they get to the cave, and Batman's like, I'm sorry I went through your stuff, but I really want to, take you out for your birthday or whatever. He's like, we got something to do first. And he puts on, he's like, you should wear the Robin suit and all that jazz. So they go in the Robin suit, and he's like, all right, we're going on patrol or whatever. He's like, no, I'm going to take you somewhere special. And they end up going to the fucking watchtower.
Yeah.
And I thought this was pretty cool. And he's like, whoa, this is awesome. And Hawkman's all like, you too, Bruce. You too with the kids. Like, he's like, come on. And he's like, I thought you'd like it. He's bird themed. And he's like, ah. I was like, damn. And then you see Robin meeting all of the Justice League. We see Superman, we see freaking Wonder Woman, Red Tornado, freaking, Aquaman, all that jazz. Like, pretty cool. And we get the classic Superman Robin handshake, which I thought was cool. And then they start talking. And he's essentially like, he basically, we're going to go do a job. You go play with the other kids. And this is when we get we get the Teen Titans essentially.
Mm-hmm.
This was pretty awesome. And I was like, okay, we see Wally West playing ping pong by himself, which I thought was funny. Of course, we get Is it Red Arrow in here? Right?
It's Speedy in his younger
Speedy. Okay.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he's playing a video game, which is fucking Superman like fighting somebody, which I think is hilarious. Or like he's playing a Superman game, and everybody's kind of introducing themselves or whatever. And of course, Speedy is all like, we should be out there doing something. Like, this is boring and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, they told us we can't leave. Everybody's trying to be nice. And Robin's like, well, we don't have to go on their mission. Like, we can go to other missions. And this is essentially kids trying to like sneak out of the house. They sneak out and they go save the day. They go start kicking ass, which
They
it's like,
they do like 3 missions on Earth.
yeah,
It's
like
like,
big
what the
missions.
fuck?
Yeah, they go like save a bank. They fight a robot, like a huge
Yeah.
robot. they fucking go on pirate ships, and I think one of them's riding a whale. Like they're all riding
It's
whales
King
and shit.
Shark is
Like
there too. Like, yeah.
yeah, it's like so crazy. And then they zoosh back to the fucking clock tower, and Hawkman's like, "What's going on here?" And like, "No, nothing." And they're all just in their place, typical like 80s movie, like nothing happened here.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Breakfast
he's all
Club for
like,
sure.
yeah, he's like, all right. And they're like, man, that was close. And everybody's like, Robin, you're a real leader. And he's like, yeah, that was kind of cool, kid. And so like everybody's cool. And so I was like, man, this is a fun issue so far. And then Batman comes back and he's like, Robin, let's go. They leave, go back down to the cave, and he's so excited to talk to Alfred. He's like, Alfred, like I saw Superman and Wonder Woman and this and that. And he's all like, status report. And he just goes dark mode.
He goes into full fucking robotic. He's like,
Yeah.
first target, Roy Harper, aka Speedy. And he just goes through the entire fucking list on how they are like their worst enemy, their biggest weaknesses, in what order they would go down in if Robin were to ever take down these Teen Titans, essentially.
Yeah.
And Alfred's like, Bruce, what the fuck did you just do?
Yeah. He literally says at the end of their conversation, he's like, you bastard. I was like, oh my God. He called him a bastard. Like, what the fuck? I was like, holy shit. So I loved this, and also like kind of thought it was fucked up, but it was very Batman-esque.
It is.
And
And like how it was jarring in the first issue of how like kind of like very borderline, like super, like almost Frank Miller-esque Batman was
yeah,
in the first issue. I was like, oh, this could be very bad. And
yeah,
here it makes sense because of who Batman is.
yeah.
Because even Nightwing, if we go into main continuity and talk to Nightwing, if we were able to talk to Nightwing,
Mhm.
there is almost a 100% chance he'd be like, "Oh yeah, that happened before."
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
totally, I
it
agree.
could totally be something that could have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just like, God damn. I was like, it's awesome, but at the same time, like, it's fucked up. But it's nothing that's new to me. Like, I know Batman would do this, and
Yeah.
that's why it works. Because he's done it to the Justice League. So why wouldn't he do it to the younger ones? You know what I
I
mean?
I love Batman's response. Like Robin finally finishes, and the only thing Batman says is good boy.
Yeah. He's a man of few words. And this is why when people give him monologues, I'm just like, it doesn't work. Yeah, Alfred is pissed. And he like storms off, and cuz like dude, just I love the way it went from him being such a happy kid that got to go meet Superman and do all this stuff, and it instantly turned into a stone cold killer. I was just like, "Oh my god." But it was fucking dope. I mean,
And then like at the end, like because Alfred then he says like, yeah, you're a bastard or whatever, but like the big thing was like, Bruce, like if he didn't say it, but like I could easily see this conversation going longer and him being like,
mhm,
I just had a conversation with his principal about how
yeah.
he's not acting like a child. And he says he is a child. He needs to have like child experiences. And Bruce says, I didn't. Why should he?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
what the
dude.
fuck?
I was just all like, I mean, he's not lying though. Like, I've said this all the time. Like, I don't know when everybody has a different. Some people say Batman, his parents died when he was 8 years old. Some people
Mhm.
say they died when he was 12.
12. Yeah.
I like to go with the 8 years old because it gives him more time to think about being Batman. It gives him.
Mhm.
I like to think he's become Batman at age like 20 to 22,
Mhm.
and that means he's had 12 to 14 years of pure just thinking about being Batman, going to train, doing all this shit. That's what I
Mhm.
like to think. So I go with the 8 years old one just because I think it works better. Because then there are people that say he becomes Batman like at 30, and I'm like, whoa. I was like, that's a long time.
Dude, I'm turning 30 in under 20 days. My body could not
Yeah.
train to be Batman like
Yeah. So
in the
that's
last
why.
few years. No way.
What's because at the same time too, it's all like I think Nightwing becomes Nightwing around 2022-ish at the
Exactly.
same
Yeah.
time. So he would have to be Batman way earlier than that. So yeah, I like to go with the 8 years old thing. But yeah, I've always said the moment the Waynes died, so did Bruce Wayne, and the Batman was
Hmm.
born that in that alley at that moment. He didn't know what he was gonna do yet, but he had some kind of knowledge of like I don't ever want this to happen again. So yeah, seeing this way from Robin, I will say I would like to see the happy-go-lucky thing, in which we got more of, in this
Hmm.
one, which I thought was cool. We got to see Robin being a leader, which is nice because he's always been the natural born leader, and it does actually make sense that he would do something like this because we know as much as Nightwing does not ever want to be Batman, he is the most Batman one out of all of them. And so like it's interesting to see that he would do something like that, but it was just so cutthroat of just all like but I did love that he said he was what's her name? I always forget Wonder Girl's name.
Donna Troy,
Donna Troy. He was she's perfect. She has no weaknesses. The only thing is she believes in people or something like that. And that
which
will be
is
your
her
downfall.
ultimate downfall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, God damn, that was just so good. So good. But for the most part, I think, Imposters was definitely my least favorite. I had issues with I Am Batman this week, but I didn't hate it. But for the most part, not a bad week of
I
comics.
for and one last comment about I Am Batman because I know I kind of went hard like immediately when I
Hmm.
was giving my thoughts about it. I think that the idea of giving somebody the mantle of Batman and trying to make it their own
Yeah,
can be an intriguing story.
yeah.
The direction they are going with it though isn't really hitting me, and that's ultimately what I've been trying to really push whenever it comes to reviewing I Am Batman.
Yeah. See, like, and I don't like the way they're going about it with Lucius because you could have friction between Lucius and his kids very easily by him
Mhm.
finding out that his kids are Batman. He's like, "Look, I help in this crusade, but I don't want it to be your life. Like, our life is hard enough,
Yeah.
And you could go into the color of the skin thing. Like, you don't need like we get chased in the streets for being just how we look. You don't need to add to being Batman. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To make it worse. Like that's a fucking hard hitting conversation. But Lucius just being a dick and like not trying to help Bruce anymore and do all
Like
this
he
kind of
told
stuff. Like,
one thing that we kind of glazed over, he told his wife, he's like, "Wait, so you had a gun, you killed somebody, and Batman was right in your sights and you didn't fucking do anything?"
yeah,
And
that
I'm
was
like,
fucking weird.
"What the fuck?" And even his wife was like, "Wait, I just killed somebody and you're mad because I didn't kill somebody else?"
Yeah.
Like it the way Ridley has written Lucius is just it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah. I also think it plays into the stereotype of like just another angry black man. And we've had that too much in comics
Yeah.
and just in media in general, and I don't like that. Because yeah, I mean we've made the description of they just made him a fucking rich white dude.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of they gave him that typical mindset. And it's like, dude, fuck. We're over here trying to make just different stories. But yeah, I think they've went one, and also the continuity on it just seems kind of weird. Like I still don't see why they made a big deal about him being unmasked and nothing has happened with it. Like makes no
Mhm.
sense. But either way, that's all we got for comics. Clay, what do you got happening this week?
So this week, actually, when you were listening to this, possibly later tonight and or tomorrow, the feed for Marvel Alliance's No Way Home review, spoiler filled, will be live. So go check that out. I'm gonna be on it with I think one, two, three, four, five other people. So there's going to be six of us total talking about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But one thing that I hadn't really said here, because I'm not taking a hiatus from this podcast, but I am taking a hiatus for 2 weeks with every other podcast. I don't have any schoolwork for the next 2 weeks, and I felt like, hey, it'll be a perfect time to relax because I am always consuming content. I am always doing podcasts, and I want some fucking rest.
Mm-hmm.
I need to
I'll feel
slow
that.
down a little bit. So I will only be on Batman News Weekly for the last 2 weeks of this year. Now, next week, I believe it's next week, is our top 10 Batman stories of the year.
No, next week
No?
is Batcat and Lonely City and everything,
Oh,
and then
that's
our
right. It's
the
it
final week of the year will
the
be
final week. Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So the
yeah. We're
final
probably
week is gonna
recording them both next week, but
yes. So be on the lookout for that as well. I still need to accumulate all of December's books for Juice and I, and so we can finally look at everything for the entire 2021. I'm looking forward to that. Um, but that's really it. I'm only going to be on Batman's News Weekly for the next 2 weeks, so just make sure to be in the
noise.
Discord and listen to us. Yeah.
Noise, noise. Yes, I have just been posting stuff on mainly the gaming channel. Definitely go check that out. I have this weird thing going on between TikTok and YouTube right now. So if you're following on either of those, you've probably seen the content on those channels. And yeah, I'm just gonna be. I have some working on some stuff for the new year. Gonna try to approach content slightly differently than I'm currently doing. But yeah, definitely go subscribe to my YouTube channels. Don't forget to go to Batman News Weekly on YouTube to leave your questions. But that is going to be it for this week's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome. News Weekly.